a common misconception that writing, reading, listening, and speaking are four different subjects. I'm Abraham Sandeep Samuel from MedCity, Kottayam, here to tell you about how these are linked. The other day, I was doing listening with my students, and that I guess was Barron's IELTS Listening, and it was Test One, Section 4, where it was a talk given by a professor on wind power, and it was a table that students had to fill in. And as the talk progressed, I realized that was a lovely material that children could write on wind power, the advantages and disadvantages of wind power. That is where it struck me. Don't you feel it struck me that reading could be used for writing, listening could be used for writing, and speaking as well. They're not four different modules. They're all incorporated. So I made the students write down what they heard on advantage and disadvantages, and the talk progressed part by part, advantages and the words that described as to describe the start of the advantages, then the disadvantages, the words that describe the start of the disadvantages, then a conclusion. It had a great introduction as well. And as students wrote the whole talk down, it was a wonderful essay. So that is where I tell everybody, do not segregate these four modules. When you do listening, do listen for writing and speaking. When you do reading, after you find the answers, maybe take a reread of the passages that you do. It might give you points. It might give you what is ideas and even sentences and paragraphs for your writing. So you could prepare your writing and speaking with the help of listening and reading. So please do bring all these four modules together when you do your IELTS. That's my advice, and my advice from experience. Here's the audio of that talk with the tape script. Listen to it, read it, and judge for yourself if it could make a good essay.
With the rising cost of fossil fuels, there's a great deal of interest these days in developing alternative sources of energy. Today, I'd like to talk about one of these, wind power. In the past couple of decades, there's been an upsurge of interest in using the wind as a source of energy, but the idea isn't new at all. People have been harnessing the power of the wind for centuries, ever since ancient peoples first used sailboats. In ancient China, farmers used a rudimentary sort of windmill to pump water. Wind power was used in other parts of the ancient world as well. In Persia, for example, farmers used wind-powered mills to grind their grain. During the Middle Ages, in the Netherlands, people went back to the ancient idea of using the power of the wind to move water. They used windmills to drain lakes, thereby creating more land for farming. At present, people around the world are using the wind to generate electricity, some old methods, some new. Is this the solution to our modern energy problems? Well, as with anything, there are both advantages and disadvantages to using wind power. Let's take a look at some of the reasons to use wind power. One of the biggest problems with using fuels, such as oil and coal, is pollution. Wind power, on the other hand, is clean. It causes no pollution and therefore doesn't contribute to global warming. Another great advantage of wind power is that it's a renewable resource. Oil and coal reserves are limited, but will never run out of wind. Economics is another reason to use wind power. Using the wind to generate electricity costs less, much less, than running other types of generators. In addition, since wind turbines don't take up much land, the land around them can be used for other purposes, such as farming. There are disadvantages, however. Even though generating electricity with wind is relatively inexpensive, the technology isn't cheap. The initial costs of setting up wind turbines can be quite high. Another issue is reliability. Wind doesn't blow at a constant strength. Therefore, at times, a lot of electricity can be produced, while at others there may be little or none. Wind turbines usually have to be located in rural areas where the land is open. Their distance from cities, where the most electricity is needed, is another issue. Although wind is considered to be a clean source of energy, wind turbines cause their own sort of pollution. Wind turbines are usually placed in high, open areas where they're easy to be seen. Rural residents often feel that the beautiful local scenery is spoiled by the sight of the wind turbines. In addition, wind turbines aren't quiet. In fact, one wind turbine can produce as much noise as a car traveling at highway speeds.